Chapter 1. Shoveling Snow for a Kitten. Todd King put the lightweight snow shovel back into the garage. Then he sat down in the rocker on his front porch and pulled off his boots. A long white cloud formed in front of his face when he exhaled. The cold crept right through his mittens, stocking cap, and even his parka. But it didn't matter. He had just earned $12, an old Volkswagen Beetle hood, and something even more special than money. Mr. Altman hadn't been able to come up with the money for shoveling his driveway and walks, so he had offered Todd a kitten, a Siamese kitten. Todd knew those cats cost a lot more than the $2 he charged for shoveling snow, a lot more than he had earned altogether. Now if Mom and Dad will only let me keep it, he thought. Shoving his boots into a corner of the porch, Todd hurried into the house. As soon as he shut the door, his mouth started watering, and his stomach gave a couple of loud growls. "Smells great," he said. "What is it?" "Homemade vegetable soup," Dad said. He and Mom busily washed, scraped, and cut all kinds of vegetables. "When will it be ready?" Todd asked. "Not for more than an hour," Mom said. "How about an apple to tide you over?" As Todd ate the crunchy fruit, he told them about his day, especially Mr. Altman's offer of the kitten. "You will let me have the cat, won't you?" he asked. "I worked hard, and you said we could have a pet when we were old enough to be kind to it. Molly's 8 now. We both know how to treat animals, and Siamese cats are worth a bundle." Dad and Mom looked at each other. "We'll talk about it," Dad said. "Why don't you go take a shower and get cleaned up?" Todd shoved in the last bite of apple, tossing the core into the trash. He tore down the hall to his bedroom. He could hardly wait for the blessing to be over that night. While Dad thanked God out loud for the food, Todd prayed inside for the Siamese kitten. "What about the kitten?" He asked almost before Dad said amen. "Who'll be responsible for it?" Mom asked. "I will," Todd said. "Who's getting a kitten?" Molly yelled. "I want one too." "Not this time, sweetie," Dad said. He spread margarine over a crusty brown roll and handed it to her. "This kitten is Todd's pay for shoveling someone's snow." Molly didn't look all that happy, but she didn't say any more. "After we finish eating, I guess we could go take a look," Dad said. "But both of you will have to remember that a kitten is not a toy. It's a real little creature that God created, with feelings and needs of its own." After Dad agreed to look at the kitten, Todd couldn't eat another bite. He wiggled around in his chair. He shoved his food around his plate, and he thought about Siamese cats. He had seen that man's mother cat and really liked her. Her body was the color of a deer, and she had a black face, black feet, and a black tail. Finally, the Keene family stood at Mr. Altman's porch. Todd felt so excited he almost couldn't find the doorbell. "Well, hello, Todd," Mr. Altman said when he opened the door. "Come in. I wondered if you would come back." Mr. Altman led them to an old sofa in a back room and tipped it back. The seat went up so they could see under. There, amid soft towels and a sort of drawer, lay the mother cat. She and two almost completely white kittens stared back at the Keene family through bright blue eyes. The kittens had only a few dark hairs on their faces, tails, and feet. Todd fell in love at first glance. "I want one," he said softly. They are darling, Mom whispered. May we touch? In a minute, Mr. Altman said. He turned to Todd. How much were you charging for that job this afternoon? He asked. $2. Do you have any idea how much Siamese kittens are worth? Todd shook his head. More than that. About 25 times more than that. Suddenly his smile didn't look all that friendly. But here's what I'm going to do. His growly voice added. He reached into the open sofa and pulled out a kitten that Todd hadn't even noticed. It looked about half the size of the other two, indifferent. Its dull white fur looked scruffy and thin, showing the pink skin and every rib beneath. The backbone stuck out like a pencil lying on the tiny body. This cat will be perfectly all right if it gets some decent care, he said. The only thing wrong with it is that it's hungry. Its big brother and sister have been hogging all the food. He handed the mewling bits of life to Todd. Todd looked at Mother in shock. The other two kittens were beautiful. This one was, well, ugly was the nicest word he could think of. Todd looked down at the sad-looking kitten in his hand, and its clear blue eyes met his. It opened its mouth to cry, but no sound came out. Then he looked again at the fat, sleek kittens in the sofa box. Their mother was giving them a bath with her rough pink tongue, and he could hear them purring. He looked at the one in his hand and found it still gazing into his eyes. Those kittens were happy, but this poor starving little thing didn't know what the word meant. Suddenly something strange happened to Todd's heart. It swelled almost out of his chest with love for the ugly runt, scruffy-looking animal. He'd make this kitten live. He'd make it happy too, even happier than those big, beautiful kittens under the couch. I want it, Mom, he said. This one needs me. Mom looked at Dad. Think it'll live? He shook his head. I'm not sure, but it'll have a better chance if we take it than it will here. Just give it lots of warm food, the man said, and before you know it, it'll catch up with the others. They took the kitten home and offered it a bowl of warm milk, but it wouldn't drink. Where's your doll bottle? Todd asked Molly. I think it needs a bottle. Molly ran after her toy, and the kitten snatched the nipple as if it had been taking a bottle all its life. I want to feed it, Molly said. It's my bottle. No way, Todd answered. You're too little. I'm not either. She snatched at the kitten, but Todd jerked it away. Stop, Dad said in a loud voice. Give the kitten to Mom, Todd. Mom cradled it in her arms and gently put the bottle back into its mouth. Todd and Molly, you're both acting like wild animals snatching at food, Dad went on. Even if that kitten were a cookie, you would be acting badly. But it has feelings and must be handled gently. Neither of you is acting mature enough to care for a pet. He walked from the room without another word.